You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast. This is Graham Thomas here in snowy Siloam Springs, Arkansas. Leland Barclay from the Craft Room in very cold, chilly Van Buren. Obviously, we're on the Zoom podcast today, this being Thursday, February 20th. And boy, it's been an interesting week, Leland. We all got to get out Monday and go to some games, and the last 3 days have just been, we've been barricaded inside while the winter weather is taking its toll.
Well, and it's funny, we have a mass text among the sports writers, and it has just been going wild, especially the last 2 days, talking about the schedules and possible changes and schedules being rearranged, because for the smaller classifications, 4A, 3A, 2A, and single A, we're in district tournaments. In 5A and 6A, we're down to the nitty gritty in the final week and a half of conference play. So all the games this week, especially, are the biggest of the season.
We've all been kind of navigating this the last 3 days. What are they going to do? What are they not going to do? We're starting to get some answers. So, and we'll dive into that a little bit later in the show. But first, let's talk about just a couple of games from Monday night, actually. I know you were at Northside, Southside, the great rivalry, the Battle of Rogers Avenue basketball edition. Tell us a little bit about, the boys' game.
Well, of course, the boys' game, it wouldn't be Northside and Southside without a few technicals. So in that game, there were 5 technicals called, including a double technical in the second half and then a technical on the Southside coach. So, what would Northside and Southside be without a technical? Southside led 14-12 after the first quarter. They were still within 21-19 with 4:06 left in the second quarter when Tyo Flake hit a three-pointer for Southside, did a little taunting at the Northside bench, got a technical, then the coach got a technical. Northside went on a 14-0 run and kind of ran away from there, even though Southside was still within 51-42 to open the fourth quarter. So that final score was very, very, very not indicative of the final of the game itself. 72-49, Northside was the final. Much closer game than that. Very exciting game. Derek Shepard was honored before the game with a commemorative ball for 1,000 points scored in his career. He went out and added 34 more points to his career total with 34 against Southside in the final game that he'll play in that rivalry. So it was the boys' game was very, very entertaining, to say the least.
This year, how's that net feel?
It feels great. Coming off of splitting with them last year, it just feels great to be able to be back on top again.
And then to go out and score 34 against them your last time to play Southside, I guess that's got to need on your home court.
Yes, sir. It was meaningful, so I wanted to go out with a bang.
More importantly, 2 wins in a row. You guys have clinched the state tournament berth. Kind of want to keep that going the last few games in conference, don't you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, for sure. We want to keep this thing rolling as long as possible.
And on the girls' side, Northside for sure took care of business like we all thought they would, and they're still right there in the mix, competing for a conference title. Back to the boys' side, though, Leland. The big thing with Northside, they've probably, I don't know if they've officially, but probably have clinched a state tournament berth with that win.
Well, I think, I guess mathematically they have not. But for all intent and purposes, and I'm sure their coach doesn't want to hear this, but for all intent and purposes, they've clinched the state tournament berth. In fact, they've won 2 in a row. The big win for them really was last Friday, beating Bentonville at home, a very good Bentonville team, and Northside kind of controlled that game throughout. In that game, Derek Shepard, 31 points, so back-to-back 30-point games for him. And a big win for them last Friday. So they can now even try to put together a little bit of a winning streak and really have some momentum going into that state tournament. They go on the road. Well, they're scheduled to go on the road on Friday night. I think that might be pushed back to Saturday. throughout the 6A West, but we really don't know that yet either as well. So yeah, they're on a good streak right now, playing very well. They've kind of found, I think, their identity. They found their rotation. You know, Enoch Slater coming off the bench. He was a starter early in the year. He's now their sixth guy. He comes in off the bench. I talked to him about that role after the Bentonville game, and he's played very well. So they're playing very well right now.
I would say the biggest win on the boys' side up this way Monday night would have been Fayetteville boys over Bentonville West, 50-38, and that moved Fayetteville into third place, and they still have a shot at second. I don't know that anybody can catch Springdale at 13-0, but the Fayetteville boys are 10-3, Harbor's 12-2. That dropped Bentonville West is 7-6, Bentonville's 8-5. So we're kind of starting to see the order of things here, but that was a big win for Fayetteville.
Well, and how about how big is that Springdale and Harbor doubleheader? Not just one game, but that doubleheader coming up too. And yeah, Fayetteville's always kind of there. And you're right, they've kind of started separating themselves a little bit now. So the state tournament, which we get to see here in our backyard at Springdale, is going to be very interesting.
Yes, sir. On the girls' side of the things, I guess the big to do up here has been, where's Tom Hallmeyer been, the Bentonville coach? And we can't seem to get answers from the Bentonville administration, although I think we all kind of, hint about, what may be going on there. We do expect to see him back. Meanwhile, Bentonville girls got a nice win against Rogers the other night, and they've got a big one coming up against Bentonville West. They're trying to fight for seeding as well with Fayetteville, and Harbor and Northside are right there. So the girls is certainly very interesting conference as well.
Yeah, it's there's gonna be a very, very, very good team finish third out of that group, and a very good one finished fourth as well. And they want to obviously avoid as long as they can the teams from the Central, because Conway is just very good. Central is the defending state champion. North Little Rock's always good, a dangerous team as well. So it's going to be that final standings, and of course it's going to come down to head as well. But that Springdale Harbor Springdale game is a big one, and that one's at Harbor. So
well, we'll dive a little bit into the 5A West here from Friday night. So I think that the big takeaway is, one, Harrison beating Alma by 1 point at Alma. That was a big win. And Van Buren going up and beating Mountain Home pretty handily, keeping their hopes alive for a playoff. Alma, I know, is disappointed by the loss. There's a big clash coming with those two teams, Alma, Van Buren, and we'll talk about that more a little bit later. But Harrison getting a win, did that wrap things up for them, you think, in the conference?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's going to give them the top seed. That was obviously a big win. They've still got to play Van Buren at home. So we'll see. It certainly helped them a bunch. And of course, the Farmington girls are just cruising.
Oh man, and on the girls' side, I don't know if there's a better team in the state in any classification. They walloped Greenwood pretty good. Wasn't I thought maybe Greenwood would, and they played them tough early, but Farmington just has too many weapons.
Well, and I think that's going to be the case most nights against Farmington. I mean, gosh, if you shut down half of their team, you've still got other outstanding players to contend with. It's just it's across the board.
The Van Buren girls, I know they didn't beat Mountain Home on Friday night, but boy, I tell you what, they have shown on multiple times now that they can hang with some people, and they seem like the team that's just primed to get somebody in the state tournament type setting.
Well, all year we've talked about Mountain Home, Farmington, and Greenwood being the top three. Van Buren has kind of risen to the top of the rest of those, but they've really got it tough as well. They've still got to go to Harrison. They only beat Harrison 33-31 in the first meeting at Van Buren. So even though they hold out the tie-breaking advantage with the win, it's only a 2-point margin. And then, of course, they have to go to Alma on Tuesday, which is a rivalry game. So it's they've still got 3 tough games left to go, and then they finish against Farmington. So it's going to be a huge 3 games stretch for Van Buren boys and girls, because the boys are still hanging by a thread. So it's a big stretch for them and Alma.
All right. Well, with that in mind, I think we'll go ahead and jump into our Gimme 5 segment for this week. And Leland, we'll let you start with Gimme 5 in the River Valley.
Okay, this is the top 5 performances for the girls in the River Valley last week. We always start, of course, with number 1, our River Valley Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week, Kaylee Ward, a junior, 6'3" junior from Mansfield. She finished off the regular season with 30 points, 18 rebounds, 7 blocks against Lavaca. The game before that, in a very close loss to Lamar, the top seed in the 3A4, she had 23 points, 18 rebounds, and 6 blocks. So a fantastic season for her. And the Lady Tigers were the number 2 seed, so they'll play in the semifinals of the 3A4 district/conference tournament. Number 2, of course, Ariana Gooden, senior for Northside, versus Southside on Monday night in a 64-29 win, 21 points and 10 rebounds. Kind of just her usual great performance, all-around performance for the senior, who also is approaching 1,800 points for her career.
Southside. Yep. Y'all came here 4 years ago, twin sisters, to go undefeated against the crosstown rivals. How neat is that?
It's real neat. It's an honor. We don't take it for granted. I mean, there's a culture here, and Northside wins. So to be able to keep that alive it means it's really, really special.
Yeah, it's really amazing to be able to do that 4 years and be undefeated against them.
Well, and also, a conference game, big game. You got some big ones coming up.
Yes.
Just kind of the stepping stone toward those.
Yep. We got one more home game, and we got 2 conference games left, and then it's the real deal. So we're getting ready.
Yeah, same.
Number 3, a freshman from Cedarville, Emily McCutcheon, 22 points in the 3A4 opener on Monday night in a 58-49 win over Cossatot River, a big win for the Cedarville Lady Pirates. Number 4, Jalen Sims from Magazine, scored 24 points in a 51-24 win over Western Yell County to conclude the regular season for the Lady Rattlers. Number 5, we cross over into Oklahoma. Roland sophomore Ryan Nelke had 19 points in a 59-21 win over Chakota as they finished off the regular season last week. And now the top 5 performances of the past week for the boys in the River Valley. Number 1, River Valley Democrat-Gazette Players of the Week. The Twin Towers, the combination of Coda Terrell, a senior, and junior Houston Stroops from Pecola combined for 63 points in a 105-60 win over Warner in a district tournament game, the one-game district in this past week. Terrell was a lot of points. That's a bunch of points. Terrell was 12 for 12 from the field, 7 of 10 from the free throw line, and had 12 rebounds in that game. Of course, he's the 6'9" senior. He had 31 points. He's going to Missouri as a wide receiver to play football. Number 2, Derek Shepard, of course, a guard for Fort Smith Northside in the 72-49 win over Southside on Monday, 34 points, 10 rebounds. And then last week against Bentonville, he scored 32 points. I think I said 31 earlier. So 66 points for him in the last 2 wins for the Grizzlies. Number 3 is another combination. Cooper Dewar, a sophomore, and Caleb Lyons, a senior from Ozark, combined for 30 points in a win on Monday in the first round of the 4A4 district tournament at Ozark, a 62-28 win over Waldron. Last week in a regular season game, They combined for 48 points, with Dewar scoring 23 and Caleb Lyons scoring 25. The win on Monday secured a spot in the district tournament semifinals and also wrapped up a berth in next week's regional tournament. Number 4, A.G. Denton, a senior for Van Buren, had 19 points and 7 rebounds in a 62-43 win over Mountain Home last week. And then number 5, we go over Oklahoma again. Tegan Collins, we heard his name a lot during football season. Well, he's pretty good in basketball too. He scored 21 points in a 68-49 win over Salisaw on last week to wrap up the regular season for the Bulldogs. And those are the top 10 performances of the last week in the River Valley.
All right. Well, so that will be a good segue for us to go to the top 5 performances for Northwest Arkansas boys. We'll start with the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week, Caden Smith of Huntsville. The 6'3 senior had a pair of big games to help Huntsville clinch second place in the 4A1 conference. And why is that a big deal? Well, the winter weather gives us a reason why it's a big deal. By getting second place in the 4A1, they earned an automatic berth to the regional tournament in Dardanelle next week. And the 4A1 has since come out and said they're not going to be able to complete the conference tournament as it is. And so Huntsville's going to automatically get the number 2 seed from the conference to go to the regional tournament. Now, they are going to still play some of the games in the regional tournament to determine who gets to go. Back to Caden Smith, though. He had 15 points and 7 rebounds in a 53-49 win at Gravette. Then he came back in the final game of the regular season and 18 points against Prairie Grove. He's been the team's leader in scoring and rebounding all season and led in assists until just recently. So what a good job by him. Number 2, I'm going to go with Hudson Norris of Berryville. His offensive rebound and bucket helped Berryville finish off a 63-61 win against Gentry on Monday in the opening round of the conference tournament. That kept the Bobcats alive in this conference tournament, and they'll play again, looks like on Saturday now. C.T. Hicks had 21 points for Berryville in that win as well. Number 3, Isaiah Seeley, 25 points in a win against Bentonville West last Friday. Springdale Bulldogs are 13-0 in the league and just, rolling on the track to a conference championship. Number 4 is a name we haven't really said a whole lot of this year, but he's certainly capable, and that's Sam Kirkman of Farmington. He hit 7 3-pointers as Farmington blasted Greenwood last Friday. I'll tell you, Leland, Farmington's a sneaky good team. They're a team that has a lot of weapons, just like a Harrison or some of these other teams. They're right up there. And if Sam Kirkman goes off for 7 threes in the game, then it's going to be really tough to beat Farmington. We'll stay with the 5A West. Ryder Scribner of Harrison had 23 points and 6 rebounds as Harrison clipped Alma last Friday night. All the 5A West teams were scheduled off on this past Tuesday anyway, so nothing was postponed. As a little bonus, Barry Huntley of Elkins rolled a 636 series and claimed the individual state championship for the Elkins Elks in the 3A 4A state bowling tournament. P. Ridge won the team title, led by Peyton Kitterman, who finished second with a 634, and teammate Aaron Hinosa at 629. We'll have a little more of black hot bowling here with the top 5 NWA girls. Get to that in just a second. These are the top 5 NWA girls performances of the week. Number 1 is our Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette Player of the Week, Riley Nichols of Gentry. Nichols, who averaged a double-double this season, had 18 points and 17 rebounds in the win over Berryville, and almost did it again with another double-double. She had 15 points and 9 rebounds in a win against Gravette to close out the regular season. Number 2, though, the Gravette Lady Lions get their revenge for that end of the season loss. They've had a tough year. but it got a little bit better on Monday night when they turned around and beat Gentry 56-50 in the first round of the conference tournament, ending the Lady Pioneers season. Lillian Sharp had 13 points, Kinley Harris 12, and the Lady Lions have advanced on to play Huntsville at Huntsville on Saturday. Kayla Lozano of Green Forest, she scored a layup with 2 seconds left to lead the Green Forest Lady Tigers to a 39-37 win over Prairie Grove in the opening round of the 4A1 tournament at Huntsville. I can't even remember the last time Prairie Grove was out in the first round of the conference tournament, but here we are with that. Green Forest supposed to play rival Berryville in the quarterfinals. Number 4, Macy Willis of Valley Springs hit a running jump shot with 4 seconds left as the Valley Springs girls defeated Salem on last Friday night. And then finally, the Farmington girls, wow, just, what a machine they are. They picked up their 53rd consecutive conference win and a blowout win against Greenwood the other night. Would have been last Friday. Easton McCullough had 20. Casey McCumber had 19. Marin Adams had 17. Just weapons all over the court. And don't see anybody slowing them down anytime soon. And then as a bonus, we mentioned Pea Ridge Bowling. How about Zaylee Warden of Pea Ridge? She bowled a 580 to win the individual state title and helped the Lady Blackhawks to the state championship in the 3A, 4A bowling. Coach John E. King, legend, as we like to call him, got his second state title of the day as Pea Ridge won that one as well. So that is the top 5 performances in Northwest Arkansas. And I tell you what, Leland, man, like it's kind of funny how quick this thing can go by, but it feels like the stuff happened last Friday just happened, and yet here we are almost a week away from it. So I know these next few weeks are going to go by quick.
Absolutely, especially, with all these games packed in close together due to the weather.
It makes it fun, I think, and that does make it go by quick. As we wrap up the show, we're going to kind of take a look ahead at kind of what's on the horizon. So as we're filming at the moment, we don't really have any information about the 6A West game scheduled for Friday. So if you're tuning into the podcast and you're wondering why we're still talking about Friday's games, well, that's the reason why. But matchups on Friday, February 21st, we've got Bentonville West at Bentonville, always a great rivalry between the two Bentonville schools. Fayetteville's at Springdale, should be a great girls game and probably a really good boys game too, I would think. Northside is at Rogers Heritage. Fort Smith Southside is at Rogers. Big important games for all 4 of those teams. Northside boys need to keep winning, and Rogers, Heritage, and Southside are all trying to get as much out of this the rest of the way as they can. Then on the 5A West side, we have gotten some information about what's going on there, and well, we know for sure that Alma is going to make the trip up to Mountain Home and play the Bombers at noon at 1:30 on Saturday. And we know that Russellville and Farmington are also going to play Monday as well. Siloam Springs and Greenwood will play Monday. The one we haven't been able to get our hands on yet is what's happening with Van Buren and Harrison. And I know Van Buren would like to play this game on Saturday. Harrison wants to play it on Monday, but we're getting into two sides unwilling to budge on that one, aren't we, Leland?
Yeah, and I can certainly see Van Buren's point. Alma didn't want to go to Mountain Home on Monday and turn around and play Van Buren on Tuesday. They worked that out. They're going to play at noon on Saturday, which is a great alternative. Van Buren also is facing the same situation. They don't want to go to Harrison on Monday night, get home at midnight, everybody get in bed at 1 o'clock, come back to school on Tuesday, and then have to play a rival at rival Alma on Tuesday. Huge games for the all 8 teams actually involved: Mountain Home, Alma, Van Buren, and Harrison. Especially the girls, I think. Van Buren beat Harrison 33-31 the first go around. That's an important game for both Harrison and Van Buren girls for that 4th and final state tournament berth. So that's a huge game. Van Buren, of course, the boys, the Pointers are still hanging by a thread. Have to go to Harrison, then they play at rival Alma on Tuesday, and then at Farmington to wrap up, or I guess at home against Farmington to wrap up the regular season. So huge games. There's also the possibility of going Monday, Wednesday, Friday for those 3 games. But at this point, I know Van Buren's kind of dug in their heels and they want to go Saturday. I know that Northside, Rogers is out of school. They've already announced that Rogers will not have school on Friday. So I think Northside is looking at going to Heritage on Saturday. So that's a possibility for them. And there's a lot going on, especially the district tournaments. Ozark and Johnson County West Side, the 2A4 and the 4A4, kind of had an advantage because those are 16 conferences. So they didn't have as many games. They got first round games in on Monday, which were basically elimination games. Now we're into the semifinals, so everybody's going to the regionals for sure, and that's why those games can be played Friday and Saturday and be done with it. Boonville, the 3A4, that's a 9-team boys conference and an 8-team girls conference with Subiaco in the conference. So lots of games there. They had planned on playing the entire week. Instead, they had Tuesday and Wednesday wiped out. They're playing games on Thursday and then Friday and Saturday and Monday. So they've elected to go ahead and play on Monday for those championship games, which are also big for seedings. Saturday's games are going to be semifinals games. So all those teams are going to be able to go to the regional tournament. We know that's what makes the Thursday and Friday games so big. Scranton hosting the A4 is a whole nother animal because OARC and St. Paul both won games on Monday to extend their season. Well, have you ever been to OARC, Graham?
I have never been to OARC.
OARC is it is north of Interstate 40. I'd say about 30 miles, and it is up Highway 101, which people talk about the pig trail from Ozark north. 101, the pig trail has nothing on Highway 101. It is an incline. It is windy. I mean, it is just it may not thaw out. Highway 101 may not thaw out for another week. So OARC has to get down that road to go to Scranton to play these district tournament games. So they don't even know if they're going to be able to play Friday yet, Saturday, or maybe Monday. And the reason some of these schools don't want to play their district tournaments on Monday is because of the short turnaround to the regional tournaments that begin on Wednesday. Well, and the 4A1 has elected to not play championship games and just go with the seedings that will determine the seedings for those teams that make it that 4. So that's kind of a backup plan for them. Scranton at this point, and then also St. Paul. St. Paul is north. So they've got a lot of travel involved with some of the teams. So it'll be interesting to see what the A4 is able to do. And they may have to go to a Saturday and Monday or Saturday and then just decide on the seedings. Or if they can't get the games in, they could always just go by the seedings from the regular season as well as a backup plan.
I tell you what, it's just a fascinating problem. And it seems like, every year, every other year, we're going to be faced with this situation. It's kind of like with the rainouts in the spring. I mean, you have a limited amount of time and games that need to be played. Leland, I'm all for. Let's do some Sunday. I mean, I'll call the AAA right now and say, look, we ought to have a good melt Saturday. Let's play a little Sunday ball. I'd be all for it.
I know to play on Sunday for anything other than regional or state, teams have to get permission from the AAA, and I don't see a problem with a Saturday, Monday. some of the teams would have to turn around and play on Wednesday in the regionals, but still, that's not that big a deal. I know that at Boonville on the 3A4 on Saturday, there's 4 games, but they're playing those kind of early in the day. Again, Mountain Home and Alma, they're starting at noon. So these teams are really trying to get games in, obviously. And it's a big deal for these district tournaments to get these games in because they get to host, and they don't get to host very often. So obviously they want to host these games. But yeah, it's at this point, everything is I guess you'd have to say is fluid.
No doubt about that. All right. Well, we are running out of time here on our Zoom Prep Rally podcast this week.
Well, and the indoor track meet, state track meet, also is scheduled to be Saturday as well.
And
That's another one that we haven't heard anything on.
Haven't heard anything yet on that one, and just looking outside. I mean, as I said to our sports writers group, it's going to take a small miracle to get all this melted in time, because that, with the heavy freezing and refreezing, that creates another set of problems on the roads up here. So we got a lot of ice to melt and somewhere for that water to go.
Yeah, we were at 6 degrees this morning.
That's cold.
That's
We were
cold.
at zero.
That's even colder.
So yeah, it's like what Outcast used to say, what's cooler than being cool? Ice cold. So that's where we are right now. All right. Well, thank you to Leland for joining us on our Prep Rally podcast this week. And thanks to Diana, our producer, for setting all this up for us. And we'll hopefully have Sydney back next week. Well, I'll tell you what, Leland, take care of yourself, stay safe, stay warm. We're both bundled up like we're outside. So, but anyway, for Leland Barclay, I'm Graham Thomas signing off. See you next time.